everybody. It is Friday, September 18th here on Great Day. KCWI Channel 23 is what you're watching. Great Day time, 9:13 this morning. It's time for some great food as we head over to the Wood Harbor Kitchen with Wini Moranville. She's meeting with some very important people from Django. Let's find out what they're all up to this morning.
Welcome to Great Food. I have with me two chefs, both from Django, Aaron Brochard and Chris Van Tile. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you.
It's great to see you. Now, you are the executive chef at Django.
Yes.
So you're going to actually cook something for us, which is great. And you are the general manager, but you have a chef background. So you're going to tell us a little bit about, you know, the service, the front of the house. You've gone from the back of the house to the front of the house in restaurant parlance. So you're going to tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely, and it's been an interesting journey.
Great. Well, I'm excited to hear about that, but why don't you go ahead and get started on this steak au poivre.
All right. Today we'll be doing a New York strip au poivre. We have a 14-ounce New York strip. It is 100% edible, so we cut off all the grizzle, the fat on the back side of that. It just makes an incredibly smooth, easy-eating steak. We're going to pair that with cracked peppercorns and a brandy peppercorn cream sauce.
Excellent.
So we'll start out seasoning the steak liberally with salt on both sides.
Very cool.
And then we're actually going to set that into the peppercorns here, and kind of press that in so they kind of lock on there. And then when we actually sear the steak here, that's going to hold all those peppercorns onto the steak. So it'll stay all the way through.
Excellent. You know, this is a very classic French dish. It's something that, you know, I've always loved, and that's kind of what I love about Django is you have a lot of French classics.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's where you go for the brasserie classics. Tell us about some of the other things you have on your menu.
Well, I believe last time we talked, I brought up the duck duo,
Confit.
which brings the confit in there. It's an accessible, easy, classic French dish that I think everybody can kind of relate to. It just gives you good, warm, fuzzy feelings inside when you eat it.
And as we head in towards autumn, those are the foods we want to eat.
Absolutely. So we've done several classes that we're teaching at the Des Moines Social Club, kind of covering some things such as seasonal cooking and progressive meals, and kind of went through braising in our seasonal cooking class. We really talked about the transition from summer into fall, and we're bringing those into the restaurant as well, with some of our focus with our dishes and how we're putting them on the plate and bringing them to the customers. So.
Oh, that sounds awesome. So you teach the classes?
Yes, absolutely.
That's awesome. So if you want to learn from this guy, go to the Des Moines Social Club's, the culinary school. They have the website there and find out when he's teaching. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yes.
I bet it is a lot of fun. I bet you make it fun.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a little bit. So.
There you go. Well, now while you're doing this, why don't you tell us about you know, you originally you had Luna Bistro. That's how I got to know you first. It was a lovely bistro in the East Village, and then you went to the Holiday Inn downtown as executive chef, and then became the
food and beverage director.
That's right. And now you're with these guys. And tell us what you're going to be doing as general manager.
Well, I'm going to be ensuring that service is fantastic at all times. Quality of service, quality of the restaurant. I just want to make sure that everybody that comes, every single person that walks through that door has an amazing experience.
Well, you know, and that's so key. I've always thought that all the orchestrate restaurants really focus on that. Focus on service, focusing on making sure everybody's happy. They don't want anybody to leave unhappy. So tell me, what are some of the things you think of when you think of good service? What do you really, what are your expectations?
Well, when I've gone out to eat, I prefer my service to have a lot of personality.
Okay.
I like it when, I like it when they're kind of chatty, when they have fun with the guests. Obviously, that's not for everybody. So I do think that a good quality in a server is to figure out the guest and what they're looking for in their experience.
Right.
So if someone just wants you to bring the food in a professional way, then that's great. But if you get an opportunity to have some fun with the guests and make their experience fantastic.
I mean, I think that's really key. When I was waiting tables back in the day, it was just called reading the table. You go up to the table and you sort of just get a sense, what does this diner want from me? Do they want me to kind of hang back, or do they want me to be part of their experience? And you kind of calibrate accordingly.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I think that's great. All right, what are you doing over there?
All right, well, I started by sauteing some garlic in the pan lightly in oil.
Ooh.
And then actually added a quarter cup of brandy to that, let that reduce slightly. And then added a third cup of Worcestershire sauce and a cup of cream. And I'm just going to allow that to reduce down to thicken up, kind of give the sauce the consistency we're looking for, and kind of the sweetness and caramelization from that brandy shines
It's
through.
awesome. I think it's great that the French use Worcestershire sauce because it's such an English thing. But they do. I mean, I've seen their recipes for this, and the recipe I use for it has Worcestershire sauce, even though it's not technically French. They borrowed it from the English. Why not?
Absolutely. Why not? If it's
adds
good,
that
use
depth.
it.
Yeah,
So.
exactly. So that's great. So it's really kind of smoking. Are you saying you need a really hot pan here? Or?
Yeah, we want to get a good hard sear on there, really caramelize the outside of that meat as we cook it. Now for a rare steak, it works excellent just to cook it in the pan like this. A couple minutes on each side and it's ready to go. If you're looking for something a little more well done, we typically preheat an oven to about 300 degrees or 350 degrees, and we'll pop it in there until it's the desired doneness. So
That's clever. I never think of doing that. I think it always has to be done in the pan.
Yeah, it's a great trick to finish steaks where rather than just charring or searing the outside of it to the point it's you know a little tough or hard, really maintains a nice consistency for the steak and even temperature.
I'm taking notes. That's right, in my head anyway. All right, so tell us more about what's going on. I'm also curious because service. As you know, I I reviewed restaurants and I still review restaurants for DSM. And service for me is a huge part of the experience. And I think that I just think it's so interesting when people don't think of that. I mean, when restaurateurs are like, well, it's all about the food. It's like really the service is so key. Well, a server can wreck your dinner.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, as obviously the majority of my experience has been back of the house until I owned my own restaurant. My favorite part of the restaurant business has always been interacting with the guests and finding out what they like. But through the years, I come to find that I think that your experience is equal parts food and service. If your food's bad, then you're not going to have a good time. If your service is bad and your food's great, you're not going to have a good time. And I think the servers are there to complement the restaurant, complement the food, and like we talked about, reading the table. But also, your server has a call to if someone really likes something, they have the power to go talk to the chef and say, hey, do you want to go talk to this table?
Yeah.
They really love their food, and then you can go out there, and that just makes their experience so much better.
Right.
Or they can grab me, and I'll go out and talk to a table, which I generally try to hit to every table anyways.
Yeah.
But, that experience from a guest is fantastic, especially when you get to interact with someone from the kitchen or
absolutely. And as server, I've always thought that the greatest servers are sort of a docent or interpreter between the chef and the diner. They sort of work between the two to make the best dining experience that they can. So I've always appreciated really good servers. And like I say, I always thought that you guys had Django always had really top-notch servers.
Absolutely. And the first time I really noticed service, this was about 5 years ago, was at an orchestrate restaurant. It was Centro, and I loved the way that we went for brunch, and as brunch started to get rolling, all these servers were lined up against kind of this half wall in front of the kitchen. And as they got a table, then they went into action.
Oh, yeah.
And I just really liked the way they did that. And I think Orchestrate does that with all their restaurants, and they have great control over the quality of the guest experiences in all their restaurants. And I've been very excited at Django. Our staff is phenomenal, and we've got a lot of characters.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure. I mean, it's the restaurant business. Of course you have a lot of characters. That's awesome.
Good characters.
So, yeah. Oh, yeah. In a good way, you mean.
Absolutely.
That's right. And if they're not, they probably don't last long, right?
Absolutely.
So are you, what happens next here?
Really, we're just waiting for the sauce to reduce down. It's going a little slower than we'd like here.
These cooktops are not your kitchen cooktops.
No, but we make it work one way or the other. So typically, we could go on a little higher heat with this, let it reduce down a little faster. So with a rare or medium rare steak, you can really start the steak, start the sauce, and then the two of them come together at the end of the dish.
That's awesome.
So for a nice rare to medium rare steak we have right here, we would pull that off the heat. Typically, just let it rest there for a minute or two. It's going to distribute those juices evenly throughout the steak, and also help maintain its texture, its consistency. So the one last thing we do have to add to the sauce is the green peppercorns. They're a brined peppercorn, so they have a salty, kind of caperish, vinegary punch to them.
Right.
With a real light peppercorn flavor. So if you can find them and use them, I highly recommend it. If you can't, using a cracked pepper, a peppercorn melange, something in that sense, does a great job to.
Right, but it's really part of the intrigue of the dish of having the more mild green peppercorns with the really powerful sear on of the black peppercorns. That's awesome. So, well, anyway, I want to thank you both very much for coming. Congratulations on your new job. They're in good hands. Django's in good hands with you, I can tell. Always good to have you on.
Great, thank you.
All right.